We are drawn to stories of triumph. We celebrate the victors, the ones who stand atop the podium with gold medals draped around their necks. But there is a different kind of story, one that holds a deeper, more resonant power. It is the story of the comeback. It is the narrative of the person who has fallen, who has been defeated, written off, and left for lost. This is the story of the second act. It matters to us because it speaks to a fundamental human truth. Failure is not the end. It is often a beginning, a necessary crucible where true strength is forged and profound lessons are learned. The comeback narrative dismantles our conventional understanding of success and failure. We tend to view these as opposite ends of a spectrum. But what if that isn't true? What if failure is actually a prerequisite for a certain kind of greatness? The individual who has never known profound defeat operates with a different set of tools than the one who has clawed their way back from the abyss. In 1985, Steve Jobs was at the top of the world. He was the co-founder of Apple, the visionary behind the Macintosh computer, a symbol of youthful rebellion and technological genius. And then, in a stunning boardroom coup, he was forced out of the very company he had built in his parents' garage. The man who had promised to put a dent in the universe was suddenly an outcast, a brilliant but difficult personality deemed too volatile for the corporate world he helped create. Jobs described this period as his wilderness years. Stripped of his title and his company, he was forced to start over. It was during this time that he founded Next, a company focused on building powerful computer workstations for the higher education market. At Pixar, Jobs learned about a different kind of creativity. He learned about storytelling, about the painstaking process of collaborative art, and about building a culture that nurtured talent. The wilderness was not a place of exile, it was a training ground. It was preparing him for a comeback that no one, not even he, could have possibly imagined. By 1997, Apple was on the brink of collapse. The company that had once defined personal computing was hemorrhaging money. Its product line was a confusing mess. In a move of sheer desperation, the board made a stunning decision. They bought Next, Steve Jobs' company, primarily for its advanced operating system. He famously drew a simple four-quadrant grid on a whiteboard, labeling the boxes Consumer, Pro, Desktop, and Portable. He declared that Apple would now make only 4 products, one for each quadrant. He introduced the iMac, a candy-colored, all-in-one computer that was as much a design statement as a piece of technology. It shouted that Apple was different, it was fun, it was back. This was followed by the iPod, the iTunes Store, the iPhone, and the iPad. Each product was a revolution. He wasn't just selling computers anymore, he was creating an entire ecosystem, seamlessly blending hardware, software, and services. He had transformed his greatest failure into his ultimate advantage. His failure was the very ingredient that made his ultimate success possible. Long before his face was carved into Mount Rushmore, Abraham Lincoln was a man intimately acquainted with failure. His life was a litany of setbacks that would have crushed the spirit of a lesser individual. He failed in business, racking up debts that took him years to repay. He ran for the state legislature and lost. He ran for Congress and lost. He ran for the Senate and lost. After one particularly painful loss, he fell into a deep depression, what he called his melancholy. Friends worried for his well-being. But each failure, rather than breaking him, seemed to temper him, like steel being forged in fire. He learned from every defeat. Consider his famous debates with Stephen Douglas during the 1858 Senate race. Lincoln lost that election, but in another more important sense, he won. The debates, published in newspapers across the country, elevated him from a regional politician to a national figure. When Abraham Lincoln secured the Republican nomination for president in 1860, it was honestly a shock to the political establishment. He was the dark horse candidate, the underdog who came from behind to defeat more prominent, more experienced rivals. He inherited a nation on the brink of dissolution. The Civil War was a challenge of unimaginable scale, a crucible that would demand every ounce of his courage, wisdom, and tenacity. Lincoln's journey from a log cabin to the White House is honestly the ultimate American comeback story. The skills he needed to save the Union were not learned in victory, but in defeat. Before she was a household name, Joanne Rowling was a single mother living on state benefits, struggling to make ends meet. She had an idea for a story about a boy wizard, an idea that had arrived fully formed on a delayed train trip. She spent years pouring her heart into this story, writing in cafes across Edinburgh whenever she could snatch a spare moment. She was, by her own admission, the biggest failure she knew. Her marriage had failed, she was jobless, and she was trying to raise a child in near poverty. This was her reality. When she finally finished the manuscript for Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, her struggle was far from over. She sent it out to publisher after publisher, only to be met with a cascade of rejection letters. 12 publishers turned it down. One agent famously told her that there was no money to be made in children's books. It would have been the easiest thing in the world to give up, to put the manuscript in a drawer and accept the verdict. But Rowling possessed a quiet, stubborn persistence. She believed in her story. She believed in Harry. Eventually, a small publishing house, Bloomsbury, agreed to take a chance on the book, reportedly after the chairman's 8-year-old daughter read the first chapter and demanded to see the rest. The rest, of course, is literary history. The Harry Potter series would go on to become the best-selling book series of all time, spawning a global media franchise and making Rowling one of the wealthiest women in the world. Her comeback is not just a story of rags to riches, it is a profound lesson in the power of believing in your own vision when no one else does. What is the common thread that connects a fired tech visionary, a defeated politician, and a rejected author? It is the courage to begin again. This is perhaps the most difficult step in any comeback. It is one thing to endure failure. It is another thing entirely to actively choose to re-enter the arena where you were defeated. Steve Jobs didn't have to return to Apple. Abraham Lincoln didn't have to keep running for office. J.K. Rowling didn't have to send her manuscript to one more publisher. They chose to. The stories of great comebacks challenge this assumption. They suggest that what looks like a disadvantage can, in the right circumstances, become a powerful advantage. The person who has been cast out is now free. They are free from the expectations, the bureaucracy, and the conventional thinking that may have constrained them in the first place. When you are forced to the outside, your perspective widens. You can see the entire landscape with fresh eyes. So, what can we learn from these remarkable stories of revival? The first lesson is one of perspective. We must learn to reframe failure not as an endpoint, but as a data point. The second lesson is about the importance of a core conviction. A comeback is a long and arduous journey. It must be fueled by something deeper, a passionate belief in an idea, a project, or a purpose. The third lesson is that you do not have to return as the same person. The most powerful comebacks are not restorations, they are reinventions. Finally, these stories teach us about the quiet power of persistence. It is the understanding that the path to success is almost never a straight line. But as these comeback kings show us, it is the one who is willing to get up one more time than they are knocked down who ultimately changes the world. And that is a lesson for all of us.